you hit one down the right hand side of the grid, didn't you? Is that the one I'm thinking about? And then it sort of kicked.
Took a bounce.
It kicked left, didn't it, or something like that?
Yeah. So the wind again. You do know your long drive. I love it.
Yeah.
I talk about this with everyone since 2010.
Hi, and welcome to episode 12 of Start From Scratch. Once again, it is just me and Josh. It's not because nobody likes us and we can't find company. It's mostly because
we don't want anyone else.
We don't want anyone else. We're tired of it. We're definitely tired of our older brother Liam. He's at the sack. You might hear from him again, but it'll be on our terms for sure. We've recorded 2 episodes this week, so you will have heard us talk about Hoylake, and actually Hoylake is done and dusted, even though we're going tomorrow because Josh, you forfeited the match.
No, I haven't. Never dreamed that.
How do you think you forfeit the match? What do you need me to do for you tomorrow?
Beat yourself?
No.
Yeah.
How are you going to beat me without golf clubs?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I forgot my golf clubs at home.
Yeah.
I was basically I was getting in my car, which was yesterday on the way home, Tuesday morning, and my golf shoes stank out the car.
Hang on. Home is Anglesey, and you live in Liverpool.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. And then they stank, so I went to the boot and I was like, "Fuck, these stink. I need to take these out." I thought, do you know what? I may as well just leave them here. Don't need the golf season pretty much over. I don't need them now. So I took them and my golf clubs out, and then was showering yesterday morning, and then the penny dropped, and I absolutely almost cacked there and then in the shower.
Yeah,
I'm like joking.
That's because you're scared of taking me on in the match.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I beat you with your clubs and they're left-handed. I'm not even joking. I'm really looking forward to it.
It is you in a nutshell. When I got that text, I was like, there's nothing that personifies this kid more than this right now. And I just want to touch on, if your golf season is more or less over, I take you didn't make it into the Champions of Champions event.
Well, no, I've still got 1 event left that I'm going to clutch up on. I was going to play 3, but then I sacked 2 off. So I've got 1 more event. But what I was going to say is, the more you are giving me shit now, which is fine, but it just makes you look even worse when I beat you.
I'm not going to lose.
Yes, you are. And it's not even going to be close either. How many holes is it again? 6?
It's a 6-hole match play in order for us to get as much content in that as possible. So
I'm going to win 7 up. My favourite drink, mate. I'll let my talking down the course. So until then, mate, I suggest you pipe down.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, we'll know tomorrow evening. We're going to know this time tomorrow.
Yes, we are, yeah. Well, it might be on social. No, until when this comes out, because it isn't coming out until...
No, this episode won't come out until not next Friday, Friday after. So...
Yes, okay.
Before I tell people about who's coming on tonight, I just want to ask, has Sam Fegan had the balls to respond to anything I've said about him?
No, I have texted him, but he did not get back to me in time for this episode to go live.
Has he read it?
Oh, recording. No, he hasn't read it. I think he works in a place that's quite strict on phones. You have to put them in a locker and that. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt. Because let's be honest, I've got more respect for him than you at this point, because he did message you.
He needs to be stricter with what comes out of his mouth, because he has entered into a world that he wants no part of.
Listen, I think everyone's a part of your world. I really do. I don't think anyone's scared of what you've got to offer on the golf course.
And Eddie. That's not my point. That's not my point. It is. No,
what is your point then?
I'm telling Sam Fegan that if he's going to put himself out there, he best back it. I don't mind. So I'm saying now, I'll have the match when he wants Doesn't matter what the course is. Doesn't matter when it is, really, as long as it works. All I'm saying is he's saying this behind closed doors. He says it. He's had a beer at the clubhouse, and he'll say it through text. By the way, to a platform neither me or Eddie are on. I'm not going to revisit it. I'll wait for that text from Sam Fegan now, and when he hears the episode, he best come back to me. That's all I'm saying. That's the only thing I'm saying in response to him.
I'm going to give you one thing. If it was anyone else making these accusations that Sam was making, I would be more concerned for you than I am for him, because he has got a track record of choking really badly as well when it comes to match play. So that's the only thing you've got going for you, and the only thing against him. So it's going to be a good one to watch, no doubt.
He's a choke artist, mate.
He is, mate. But what can you do? People are people at the end of the day, so we crack on.
Yeah. And now's a good time for us to talk about who we've got coming on. Josh, out of nowhere, really, this is your dream episode. This is a two-time world long drive champion, Joe Miller.
A fellow bomber.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to see the same way, but there you go.
You don't think he's a bomber?
I think
No, yeah, Joe Miller, baby. I'm looking forward to it.
So I remember when I told you were telling me all sorts of things about him, and I was thinking that's gone a little bit OTT. You probably know more about him than you should do, really.
Yeah, we'll see what he says about that, mate.
Yeah,
Leave him to judge.
That's fair enough. Should we get him on?
Yeah, let's go for it.
You got me, boys.
Yeah, we got you on.
How you doing, guys? You okay?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Very good.
Joe, if we start with then, what's life like for you right now? You're still practicing and still trying to get back into it, trying to get back into the swing of things, because obviously we met Zach last week and Zach was saying that you two are working together. So it'd be nice for us to start really on what life is like for you right now, and maybe comment on what you're doing with Zach as well.
Do you know what? It's been, I've got to say, it hasn't much changed from when I was in full-time competition mode. So, but I'm going back there 2019, obviously before the world got shut down. Life at the moment is I suppose a few things have changed. One, I had a son at the end of 2019, so a lot of it is looking after him, especially at the moment, half terms or coming to the end of half term. Second to that, this great big ape dog that I've got sitting next to me right now is looking after him. But then nothing else changes. I still hit balls every other day, every 2 days. Every other day or every other day. And I'm still training like I always have. But I mean, that's more of a lifestyle thing. That's not necessarily just for the golf. So I still do a lot of weightlifting, a lot of weight training. And yeah, just, I think things are good at the moment. I don't know if I would say I'm looking for a new direction, but I want it to branch off a little bit. I want to do a few different things. I am in the middle of probably booking a flight to Germany, which is where the European Championships are in a couple of weeks' time. I think 3 weeks' time.
Oh, wow.
Which will be my first long drive event since 2019. So, that's the sort of main focus now. But I've been focusing on sort of making a return I never thought I went away from it. It's just obviously COVID and lockdowns and things like that. Just, they obviously shut a lot of doors. But I always continue to practice. So this is maybe, I don't know, I'll just say it's the next competition or the next event I'm going to do, which obviously is a bit of a comeback for 4 years out of the sport. It's going to feel strange, but practicing well, hitting well, swings getting to a point now where it's back in a nice, comfortable speed, which I've always sort of prided myself on. I've always been a guy that could, obviously swing quite fast, and I've always been the sort of top end of the competition. But it's getting back to that point now where things are feeling comfortable, and I'm actually looking forward to, getting back. Maybe it's only going to be one competition this year, but maybe this will just be the start, and then on to 2024.
Yeah.
Do a few more there.
So is this how the collaboration with Zach came about then? Your idea to sort of go back into,
yes,
like you said, come back to some sort.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I suppose. I mean, not. It's not the comeback with Zach. It's more. I still do a lot of corporate events and whatever it would be, golf shows, golf exhibitions. I met Zach back in, I think it was February this year. We were both doing the Bunkered Live events that they do. There was one in where was it? In the NEC in Birmingham, and I got to meet Zach there. Never met him before. But he is doing something that I'm always been interested in. Obviously, the training side of it, but I've never tried to sell the training side. I've never tried to, do it as a sort of profession. Although obviously you get asked quite a bit doing what I do. And he just approached me and he said, we both sort of think along the same lines. I was listening to some of his talks and he obviously listened to my talk, which is a bit briefer than his one at the time. I was up there hitting balls, not so much doing the talking part. And sort of fast forward a few months and we had a couple of chats and. This is obviously his remit than it is mine in terms of the Instagram side and that here's a package and do you want to get involved and come and see what we're doing. So I'm sort of learning from him a little bit, and he's obviously he's using me and seeing how I sort of think about long drive and think about the training side of things and just obviously it's obviously just an obvious combination there, and who knows, it could lead to other things. So. It's a little interesting project for both of us. It's not something we're really putting a massive amount of focus on, but this is a nice little package, guys. If you want to get involved, come and have a look and see for yourselves, really. If you're interested in trying to find a bit more distance, this is for you, sort of kind of thing,
I was I won't ask the question. We were actually talking before we came on air about asking you what you sort of were going to branch out into after golf.
Yeah.
But we'll come back down to that. I've got a quick question for you. Is how are you feeling about the European champs? I don't mean within your swing or anything like that, but how are you feeling? You're a bit nervous going back into it after 4 years out?
At the moment, no. I'm actually quite calm. I've never been really a nervous kind of competitor, really. So I think it's quite calm. I think obviously the adrenaline does start pumping as soon as you get a bit closer to the event. At the moment, it's still I don't think about it. I'm still just concentrating on making a good move in terms of my swing and practice inside of it. But no, I think quietly comfortable, quietly confident rather. I don't think is there an expectation on me? Maybe to some point, the boy. I'm sure. It's sort of 50-50 and he's been out. Anyone who knows the sport knows. Like, look, we know you've been out 4 years, but you are still an ex-world champion, 2-time world champion.
Yeah.
And all the boys there want to smash it to pieces. So,
yeah.
And for me, obviously, I've always got that expectation to hopefully go and win and at least put in a performance. But at the same time, I'm not stupid. I've been doing it a long time. I know 4 years out, there's a lot of sort of ring rust. So yeah, I don't know, just a sort of mixed feeling, real. Quite kind of quietly confident and just looking forward to seeing how it goes, really.
Do you still have? Sorry, just go on quickly before I might be wrong in saying this now. Do you still hold the record for the longest ball hit in a European final, or did you at one point, or did you hit?
I did at one point.
I remember the commentary on one of your world championship. At 10,060, they introduced you and you said that you hit it something stupid like 450 in a final or something like that.
Final. I'm trying to think if that was actually a final now. I think I'm gonna go and say it's. You might have me on that. Actually, it might have been a semi-final match.
Oh right, okay.
I mean, I held the European record for God knows how many years. It was back in 2005. I hit 474 yards.
That's the one. I was 2005 because you were young, you were new onto the scene then, weren't you?
I mean 2005. I mean that was my first. First official world European Championship at that point, in which I obviously won, and that catapulted me onto Vegas and experiencing that and seeing how the real side of it. Unfortunately in Europe, long drive's always been a very small, very niche. I mean, it's niche at the best of times, being long drive, even in America, but it's even smaller in Europe. So Europe was just a sort of catapult to get you into the World Championships. I mean, that was 2005, so I'd only been sort of really competing 2 years at that point. 2003 was my first go. And then 2005 hit the European record, 474 yards, and then obviously it all sort of snowballed from there. But whether that was actually in a final, because it was slightly different. It was slightly different back then. There was a group of guys in the top. What was it? What would have been back then? I think top 8 or top 6. and everyone basically just hit their balls in terms, hit 6 balls, and the
Right,
longest
okay.
was the winner, if you know what I mean. Whereas now
Yes.
it's kind of a match play knockout stage, so it's a little bit different. But whether that was a final or not, I can't quite remember. But yeah, 474 was the European record for,
So
unless it still stands now. I can't even think if it does. I'm not sure.
just a little fairway finder then, was it?
Yeah, it was uphill into wind, all carry.
Sorry, Chris,
But listen, obviously conditions allowed for it. I mean, had I been me now back then, the ball would have gone over 500 yards, right? I wasn't longer then by any means. It was just the conditions allowed for that kind of number. So if you put Joe Miller from sort of 2010 to now, really speed wise, who knows what would have happened? It probably wouldn't have stayed in bounds, but it would have been a long way. That's for sure.
Sorry, Chris, I'm hijacking your question there.
No, it's going to be nice for me to get a word in there. I don't know if you've noticed, Joe, but Josh is like the ultimate fanboy. So
love it. I've always wanted to meet the one fan that I've got. So
yeah, this is legitimately him. So like a brief context into him, if you don't know, is there's 4 of us brothers. I'm winning our friendship group. There's a lot of good golfers, and Josh has been playing as long as us. He's been playing with us the majority of time. He's actually practiced maybe more than us. He still plays off about 26, 28 handicap. He's awful at golf. He's just tried to do one thing from day dot. Smash it. And it's just ruined his golf game by doing it.
It has. It literally has. I've been chasing that lag and in the slot for years now, Joe, to no avail, unfortunately. Yeah, but like these are all off 5 or 4 or whatever. I'm stuck on 20. But I hit it past him. That's all that matters, Joe. That's all that matters to me.
And to be honest, it's all that matters. I'm telling you. In 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time, whatever it is, you're always going to be the one who smashes. They're going to remember their little puny handicaps. Right? They're not going to care. They're not going to care about their up and downs. They're going to care about that time you drove that par 4, par 5. That's all that's going to stick. Honestly, until the very end. It is all that matters. It really is all that matters. That's what I always say anyway.
This is about our 30th episode, and I think, well, you are the only person that sided me on that, Joe, so it's nice one on my side as well, isn't it?
I think I was just about to say, so if this is 12, so 32 episodes, and we've had some top guests on. You are the only one that's told him, nah, go after it and smash it, Josh.
Yeah.
Just keep going, Josh. Honestly, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. It's the best thing. It is the best thing in the world. Don't get me wrong. But listen, even if you really want to look at it on a serious note, the modern game now is proving it, isn't it? It really is. It's taking it to that next level. They've got to limit the equipment. They've got to make the courses longer, limit the ball, all this sort of thing. Because pros realised it. I mean, the pros have always realised it. It's never been as abundant as it is now. I suppose, is it a problem? I don't know. If you had to invent the game of golf now, I'm sure it'd be slightly different. But distance is becoming a sort of an all consuming thing, really.
Yeah.
I was going back to the competition side from maybe the last 4 years. I think I've personally seen a huge uptake in long drives. So one of our friends actually, you'll more than likely know him for sure.
Cool.
Bri Roberts, who's Holyhead. So Bri that takes part in it. Who's the American now? Who's
Kyle Berkshire.
Kyle Berkshire. You've got the amateur now as well. I follow on Instagram. He's left-handed. Is Andrew Aigner?
Is he the guy that just won last week?
Yeah.
This week, what are we now? It might be this week or last week. I can't think. Andrew, I know. Yeah. I forget his name.
Aigner? Is it Aigner? Something like that?
I can't remember. Because I was looking at him, and the only thing is, I don't know how he's still an amateur because I don't quite know how. This is how far out of touch I am. I'm just trying to find it now. He was doing it when I was obviously, in the mix of it, going back 17, 18, 19 towards the end of it. He was competing then. So I'm not quite sure how that's worked, whether he's, I don't know. But I know he did just win an amateur event in Tennessee.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, he's got the tash, and That's all
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And he had that back then. That's how I recognised him. I remember. That's what I'm not sure how that whole amateur bit has worked. But yeah, he was yeah. I say I was remember talking to him on the range. Going back probably 4 or 5 years now. So unless he's maybe doing something on tour and he wants to keep an amateur status, I don't know, because obviously you can to some degree turn pro doing long drive if you start accepting money. So I'm not quite sure that's right. But yeah, I know Andrew. Yeah.
But with all this now, then, so I never knew anyone that done long drive, and obviously we've got Bry here local to us, but you got so many more names on social media now. Are you seeing it yourself in the game that the competition is getting stiffer, the ball's getting longer, the speed is getting quicker, or do you think that actually go back maybe 5-10 years ago, you still had the same amount of competition within your long drive competitions?
So if there is an increase, it's a small one. I'll be honest. Like I said, it's always been so niche, and the thing is, with being niche is long drive. It's not like a pro tournament where you got 100 odd guys that start on the open, and literally there's 100 guys out that could win it. Right? If they have a great week, we've seen it recently with some of these golfers out in the States. The guy's name's eluded me now, but the club pro who went on to win. What did he win? Done me now.
Michael Block, that one.
Yeah. And then he won that, and then the next thing he's playing with Rory and all that.
Yeah.
What the point is, there's so many guys that can win a pro tournament. The thing is with long drive is it's probably always a handful, and it's a small handful at that, of guys that really can push it and win. You get the odd surprise, don't get me wrong, but because it's such a numbers game in terms of speed, speed and numbers just don't lie for long drive. You can go out and you can play. For yourself, you can play terrible golf but still score well, right? And then you go on to the next day and you do the same, and then your game picks up, and then you go and have a couple of good rounds. Long drive's not like that. It's you've got to be that fast guy, hits the ball, quite well, and it gets you through to the event. And because some of these events aren't done over 4 days like pro tournaments, you just find it's a small handful of guys. There's some new ones coming through, which is the positive, but you still got them guys that are swinging it at that 150 to 100 nowadays, sort of high 150s, that are pretty much always going to win it. The guy that won just gone on Sunday, was it Sunday or Monday? I think he was 153. Martin Bodmeyer, who's swing speeds in that mid 150s, approaching the 160 mark. Carl Berkshire again, 160 mark approaching. It's always been that handful of really fast guys that always win it. And like I say, because it's so niche, you haven't got 100 of them. You've maybe got at the moment 10 guys, if that. So it was the same back when I won. It probably, like I said, if there is an increase now, it's a small one. Back when I done it, you had again 5 or 6 guys that you knew. But like I say, when it gets to down, especially now at match play is a little bit different. Anyone can almost win it when it gets to the last couple of guys. But yeah, I don't know. There's obviously the social media stars that we have now. And the sort of self-proclaimed a little bit. It's putting up ridiculous swing speeds, and then when it comes down to competition, you see it all drop off. But listen, it's like I say, I think it's always going to be niche until you get. Let's see what happens. It was getting to a point just before it shut down, that it was building up, and it really was building up. Golf Channel owned it. It was being shown live events every month. Sky Sports was on board, and then obviously COVID hit. That all shut down, and now it's starting to get to a point now where it's starting to build up. They've sold the ownership, and the new owners are now putting it back on TV. So we'll see where it goes, but until it gets real serious money and the players start earning a hell of a lot more money than they did, it's always going to be niche, and you're always going to have a smll amount of guys that can win, really.
Well, you raised an interesting point, and it's something I've always thought was, and I don't want to like put people down by saying this, but you do see a lot of, like you say, social media stars. They're putting screenshots up of 163 club head speed, and they're shooting some in high 230s and ball speed. But then when it comes to you're watching the live events, they're high, low 220s or something like that, or something like, you know what I mean? And you're like, and swing speed the same. What is that? Is that just, you'd think with the adrenaline of the competition, they might go even quicker? Do you know what I mean? Or is it?
You should do in theory. And I think I've pretty much always found that I did to a point. But I suppose the main thing about it is at the moment, although they've been around a while, the technology at high speed in terms of flight scopes, TrackMan, quads, whether you're indoors, outdoors, whether you mishit the club slightly, at them high speed, they can throw out freaky numbers. Now, ball speed generally doesn't lie. Okay, ball speed is generally ball speed. Indoors, I think it may come up a couple of miles an hour compared to if you was outdoors. Don't know why. Their radar system, so maybe there's just something that bounces back. I know, I'll give you for instance, certain club heads. Like if I've got the crank hat on here, if I was to use a crank driver with a Callaway driver, swing for swing, if I could replicate the exact swing, you would get a different reading in terms of club head speed. Just something to the way that the light hits the face, and the face is different shape. Not the face, sorry. The crown on the club is a different shape with a crank driver. I've done it seriously where I'll be sitting there hitting 150, 150, 150 with Callaway. You switch to a crank and it's like 138, 141. And it hasn't dropped off. Wow. You haven't changed. It's just the fact that it just struggles to read it. So what you see with some of these guys is they will post up a misread in terms of club head speed. You'll see most of the time you'll see the ball speed around the same or whatever it is they hit. But again, for instance, if I, for any real reason, will get this is how funny they are. If the angle of attack reads less than 3 degrees up, so if it's 0, 1, or if it starts going to minus, for whatever reason, I know it's a misread, you'll get a 5 or 6 or 7 miles an hour jump in club head speed for no reason. It's very strange. Where you hit the ball in the face can read different club head speeds, because obviously, if the ball's coming in, if the club head face is coming in square, but you hit the ball off the heel or the toe, the club face is doing this. It's opening and closing. It's going up. It's going down. Yeah. It freaks the radar out. So that's why you sometimes see these freaky club head speeds. I could have posted up a couple of 165 miles an hour 10 years ago, right? But they're not. They're misreads.
Yeah,
right? People love to post up a misread. It looks good on social media. Like I say, it looks good on social media. There's mishits and there's real readings, and generally you'll see the real readings in competition. But again, you'll see misreads as well. So it's just understanding the machine. I've lived with a flight scope for I think 13, 14 years now. I was one of the first ones to be sponsored by a flight by a what do you call it?
Launch monitor.
A launch monitor. Sorry, I was one of the first guys to ever be sponsored by them. So I know the ins and outs of a lot of these machines. And I know sometimes they chuck up funny numbers for no reason, but generally, the one certainty is normally ball speed. Normally ball speed doesn't really lie. It's always very consistent because it has to be.
There's a trackman literally down the facility, about 10 minutes walk down the road from me. You can bet any money on Friday I'm going to be there for an hour trying to get a freaky misread and put on Instagram. Some mad thing.
I'm trying to think what it is that gives the biggest misread. I think it's if you slightly hit it on the bottom of the club. So if you're coming in close to the bottom, and it gives you a fake angle of attack reading. If you think that's not right, because I know I can tell you, almost 20 parameters on a machine before the machine reads it, right? So you obviously know. So if you see yourself with a kind of a initially reading on angle of attack, you would generally see that jump in ball speed. That jump in club head speed. So when you take the photo of the screen, just take the photo of the club head speed, not the ball speed.
Leave the ball speed.
That's what you'll see everyone else do as well. You'll see that one. I'm swinging it well today.
Yeah. And don't take a picture of the shot tracer either, because we know.
You always see that. They sort of zoom in on the bottom right of it.
Yeah.
Club head speed's there, but forget the rest of it. Forget the fact that it's snap hook low. It's the technology at the moment. It's not. And nor should it be, right? You're swinging at 150 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour, some of these guys. A slight miss hit will give a slight misread. It just depends on how big of a miss hit and a misread it gives you.
One of the things that I would say grinds on me, only slightly, not a big deal, even though I'm making it sound like a big deal, and it comes out of a place of naivety, really. But when you're playing with someone who plays with someone, let's say you've got someone who's never seen a long driver at the ball, and they play with someone and they come back and they say, God, he hits the ball a mile. He hits the ball a mile. But then they'll say something like, he should do long drive him, or how far the long drivers hit the ball. And honestly, I don't know why it annoys me, because when you've seen someone hit the ball from long drive, it's incompatible, isn't it? So I always want those people to be able to see the ball when it's been hit from the centre of a club from someone like you or Bry or Bogmeyer or anyone, just so you can see the difference between ball flights, the hang time, the speed. It's like launching from a cannon.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's the equivalent of, you know, the club, like I say, the club pro maybe, or good amateur going out and having the round of his life. You know, everything. You know, he can't miss the cup at the moment. He finds every fairway, he finds every, you know, every shot that you think you might lose, it somehow hits a tree and ends up back in the fairway. And he goes out and shoots, you know, 5 or 6 under, and everyone looks at him and says, "Why aren't you on tour?" And then you got to realise, you know, what them boys, you know, Tiger Woods in his heyday was like a +10 handicap.
Yeah.
You know, them boys are turning pro at +7. You know, they're doing it day in, day out, right? And obviously then they go into the real serious competition, so you get found out. But it's exactly the same. It is the equivalent, you know. Oh, he should do long drive, and then you see the numbers. It is a numbers game. The funny thing with long drive is really numbers do not lie. Even though we were just talking about misreads, you know, generally when you're on there 99% of the time, you're getting a real reading, and you see the difference between. Listen, some guys now on the tour swinging it close to 130 miles an hour, and they're hitting 400 yards constantly, right? Because they're getting a run out, they're getting a roll, and you get the odd mention then. You know, oh yeah, I wonder how he's doing for long drive. What you also get is the guys that get on social media and say, "Oh, that guy just hit it further than Joe Miller did." You know, to win the World Championship back in 20 or whatever year it was. I think the World Championship in 2011 when Ryan went, 2012 when Ryan Winther won. It was in to win. I think he won with like 330, 340 odd yards, right? And then you got the little guy like a Matt Fitzpatrick tees up, knocks one 410 yards, and everyone thinks, wow, you know, them long drivers don't hit it anywhere compared to what these guys do. So you've had that over the years as well, and it is light and day, but it's like you say, it's the naivety on some people. They just they haven't seen it, and until they see it, then they realise.
Yeah.
Well, Bryson did. So Bryson bulked up and all that stuff, and obviously, like I said, I've been a fan of long drive for a while. So, but Bryson did well, but he was nowhere near the fastest, was he? Or the longest. He was just quite accurate, wasn't he? And quite optimal all the time. But you know, you look at the numbers when if you say or Borgmeyer were to middle one and him, you would be further than him. But then you look at someone Bryson, who's maybe, should we say, middle-ish of the pack of long drive, how long he was compared to everyone else on tour when he was doing it. Do you know what I mean? He was much further than everyone else. So that tells you how much further you guys are than tour people, doesn't it? Because he was out on his own on tour. But
yeah, it does. It's like I say, it's just the extreme. And to be fair to Bryson, you know, he started getting it. I've seen slower guys win world championships than Bryson was that year. So there is always that Cinderella fairy tale story waiting to happen. And Bryson almost pulled it off, right? I mean, he comes second, and only to Martin Borgmeyer back last year, 22 World Championship. You know, he comes second, and Martin, I think he beat him by 20 odd yards in the end, which you know is quite a way really. But I mean, he beat 99% of the field.
Yeah.
I mean, again, to not bastardize it too much, he got that far because he could just fill up the grid.
Yeah.
And eventually you get lucky with that, and you get lucky again, and the guy you go against doesn't hit one in play, and that's basically what happened. And not to take anything away from him, what he done was incredible. And who knows, you know, on the past life, if he didn't go down the professional route of what he was doing, and he for some odd reason, silly reason, decided to step into long drive, I'm sure he could do even better.
I thought it might.
You know, he was incredible what he did.
I thought it might be another. Wasn't it? Carl Walter. Was it 2011? A bit of Cinderella story. Honestly, Joe. Honestly, I can't. I started whenever YouTube came up. Whenever that was. So I watched it heavily from about 2008 to 2017. So I got both of your world champions, 2010 and 2016. You were, weren't you?
Yeah.
So watch it, you know, James Sadlowski, like you say, Ryan Winther, what was he called, the Man Bear or something? So I was when it was rematch, isn't it, with the big balloons and all that stuff. So I was well into it. But that was a mad one. So like you're saying with Cinderella story, he was a bit of an odd one, wasn't he? Where it was a bit of an upset.
Oh God, I mean, I still have sleepless nights about that match now. Me versus him in the semi-final. You know, I was give backstory. I was obviously coming off the 2010 win, 2011. I never lost a round. I never even looked close to being beaten up until the way they structured it. It was slightly different, but we got to the top 8 guys, and that was the first year. I think it went to, not the first year, but it was one of the early years because it went into match play. And I went against Carl. It was downwind, heavily downwind, 2011, and me and him was in the semi-final. And he's hit one. I think I still remember the numbers. I think he was 138 club speed. His ball speed was like 205, maybe. I might have been a bit of injustice there. 205 to 208, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the thing just hit the ground. I mean, I think it carried. I think if I remember rightly, it landed at 380, 390, right, which is a big ball, but it was downwind. Yeah, so a lot, you could almost throw it that far. So he landed about 390, and the bounce between his first ball pitching and where it bounced second was about 40 yards. Like, he just got this massive boom. It was like like it hit a runway. Carried on, bang, bang, bang. Got to the end of the grid. I think he was 459, something like that. And it was just like, how do you compete with that? And you can't. I didn't. It was just unbelievable. And I literally hit one of the best balls you'd ever see at that point, 151. So I was like 13, 40 miles an hour club head speed more, pured it 225. And I think it pitched at 430, and the next pitch was at 433. So I bounced 3 yards, right, with perfect shot, perfect swing, perfect everything, perfect spin, perfect launch, and the thing just went bong bong, and it kind of trickled out. I think it trickled out to 452. But just goes to show. So like I say, anyone can. I say anyway. I'm doing him a little bit of a disservice here because obviously he won a world championship before that. That was his second one. He won one back in 05.
Yeah, it was
03, 2003. He won one back then when they were using 65-inch drivers and stuff like that. So that was before my time. But listen, 2-time world champion, can't take it away from him in the end.
Obviously, we can't not talk about your 2 wins. 2010. Well, that's another question I was going to ask. Is after you win. So we'll talk about the 2010 final first. Broke your toe or something? Did you?
Yeah, last shot of the tournament. So I won. So 2010, I was in the final against Dominic Mazza. He was a young kid at the time. He was 6. I wasn't exactly old, but he was 16 at the time. He'd done well. And back then it was a 6 ball split into 2 sets of 3. So he hit 3, I hit 3, he hit 3. So he hit his first 3, nothing great. I stepped up, and on my second ball hit the winning shot, which was 414. And then obviously you sort of finish your set. I finished my set of 3. That was with the second ball, and the third ball, I just swung out of my skin because I kind of knew I'd won it at that point. It was a bit of a surreal moment, and I thought, listen, it was into wind. It was pretty much the longest ball all night, and I kind of knew he had no chance. But anyway, obviously, just put everything into it, and I felt this bang on my toe when I hit it. Straight away, instantly, I was, even with the adrenaline, I thought, what's that? I just sort of knelt down to sort of feel my foot and just kind of stumbled off. About 2 seconds later, obviously, he went up again and couldn't beat his shot, couldn't beat my shot. So I'd obviously won the world championships a minute and a half later. So that sort of pain does soon fade away. But there was a toe break during a world championship, which I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. I thought I just bruised it. But then I got home a couple of days later from Vegas after some serious celebration, and it actually ended up breaking my right big toe. Which is a bit of a weird one, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how I done it. I don't know. I've never done anything like it since. I've had a few injuries, but nothing to that severity. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the adrenaline just took over that night. Broken toe.
You hit one down the right hand side of the grid, didn't you? Is that the one I'm thinking about? And then it sort of kicked.
Took a bounce.
It kicked left, didn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, so the wind again. You do know your long drive. I love it. I talk about this with everyone since 2010. It was a sort of into wind, slightly left to right, into wind, slightly left to right, and I hit this ball sort of down the right hand side of the grid, and it was hugging the line, but you could see the wind was just sort of trying to edge it a bit. And as it landed, I mean, if you had the grid here, it landed maybe 2 or 3 foot from the line, which is obviously thinking you're going to get a bounce that's going to take it out, and the thing just sort of popped up and somehow kicked in a little bit inbounds, and it was like game over at that point. And you know, that was it was a freaky moment, but yeah, a good moment at the same time. I mean, I literally what the funny thing is about that shot, right? Is if you watch it back, I've got the footage somewhere. I don't know if it's on YouTube. You might catch the end of it. I remember hitting that ball. I can still visualize it now, thinking it's going out of bounds. And I went to turn away, and all of a sudden, in the air, I kind of saw the ball coming back the other way. So, you know, there was sometimes when you get one of them freaky ones that kind of goes one way and then it starts coming back the other.
Yeah.
I'd remember, and you sort of see me I go to look away, and I look back, and it was starting to come back round. And I always remember that. And people always, even going back to what I was just saying there, it was actually starting to, I don't know, on a freaky wind or something, it was starting to come back in, and then eventually it kicked back into the grid. And it was a funny moment, but I can still visualize. I can literally still see that ball going out of bounds and then coming back round. I don't know what it was, but yeah, good times anyway.
The next final I want to talk about, and obviously if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. It was 2013. That was a good one to watch for the fan. Obviously, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Tim Burke.
Yeah, you versus Tim Burke. I remember that, and because I think, did Tim hit a good one, and then you hit an even better one, and then did he get it with like his last ball? It was like a freak. He hit an absolute.
No. It wasn't his last ball. It was his fourth. It was his fourth ball. So again, you had 6 balls, 2 sets of 3. He hit his 3, and I think we were sitting at 414 then, or 414. I think it was 414. I hit my 3, and I was sitting at 414. But we couldn't measure it at the time because it was a live TV broadcast. So it was basically 2 balls sitting in the grid. And I think I was done at that point. I'd hit all my 6 balls. I can't quite remember. So I went first, then Tim went up. So it was the other way around. Sorry. Then I went up again to hit my last 3 balls. Obviously got the 414, I think, on my last shot. Tim then stepped up for his last 3 balls, and the first ball he just absolutely nutted it. Best ball Tim Burke's ever hit. He'll never hit it again. And yeah, he done me by about 15 yards that night. But I mean, on my defence, I was terrible that night. I was absolutely terrible. Right? It was just about. I wasn't swinging it well. Wasn't confident. I said confident wasn't right, but I just wasn't swinging it well on the night. And the grid was very funny. I don't know if you ever saw the grid. Like you might not have seen it on the TV, but
above it.
You was basically on the curve of the speedway. So obviously the speedway is a kind of a funny oval type shape, and where they set it up, you kind of had the grid looking. Let's say the grid was straight. You were kind of at an angle. You had the curve of the track going around, so it just looked like it was all over the place visually. It looked good on TV, and it would have been a great spectacle. But it was just to the eye and to the golfer in me, it just looked really like you couldn't line up properly. It was quite strange. Anyway, that was my excuse. On top of everything else, I wasn't swinging it that great. And it was that was set for Tim to win it. He was hitting it the best the day before in the practice, and he hit it the best that night. And to be fair, I don't even if I had a ball in me, it would have took me a lot more than 6 balls to get it that far. To be fair to him.
Are you friends with Tim, or is there like do you still was there a lot of banter between you about that, or
no? I mean. Listen, he won £250,000 that night, or $250,000, and I won 0. Like it was a winner takes all.
Really?
Yeah. It was a spectacle for that reason. It was a winner takes all prize, right? So to become second is a real kick in the teeth. But no, to be honest, Tim turned out to be one of my best pals. I used to stay with him, and he went when I went over to Orlando all the time. And we travelled a lot together. We've done a lot of things together, me and him. And what am I supposed to do? I can't hold it against him, right? Although I do, I secretly want to see him a little bit. He's not as strong as me, and he's not as good looking, but he got $250,000 that night, which killed me. So it took me a while, but no, he's a good friend of mine, and we get on great.
And then we fast forward then to 2016.
Mm.
To Who did you beat in the final that year? I'm trying to be honest.
Ryan Steenberg.
Yes. Yeah. But that tournament, if I remember watching that, it was a bit like 2011. You were sort of the best. It was looking like you were gonna win the whole time, was it?
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, even if you look back at, 2011, I should have won really, or I should have done better. 2012, what was 2012? No, 2012 was no good. 2013 obviously comes second. 2014, I can say I should have won. I didn't. I come fourth again or third. I should have done a lot better there. So I had a run. I had a run of close but no cigars.
Yeah.
And then 15 again, I was killing it. And the funny thing is, if you look back at I used to get sometimes the shot averages over the whole tournament and who got the most balls in play. I was always number one in terms of getting balls in play, right?
Oh well.
So I think I averaged, I think it was either 3 or 4 balls per set, which back when you had 6 balls, right, it was obviously quite a lot throughout the whole tournament. Some of these guys getting in 1 or none, and yeah, I was always quite accurate with my golf game. It was always probably served me quite well for the long drive. And 2016 was a similar sort of thing. I went through all the match play, never looked like losing a set, losing a round, and I never forget it. I don't think I ever told anyone in long drive this, but I remember in 2016 in the final, obviously they'd played their match. I was watching Justin James versus Ryan Steenberg in the semi-final, and Ryan ended up beating Justin James. And I was on the range, obviously, just sort of keeping loose, waiting to go on for the next match. I'd already won my set. I'd already won my semi-final. And the lady who was like, obviously the guys come around, all right, Joe, you got to be in this position here, right? They're going to call you 5, all right, you got 2 minutes, all that sort of stuff. I'm on the range, and the woman come up to me, who was either a volunteer or she worked for Long Drive. I can't think what it was. And she said, "Listen, Joe, when you win, just don't hit any more balls."
So she had the money.
And it was one of them moments, you know, me being me, I just went, yeah, if I win. She went, "When you win, don't hit any more balls," because we want it to look good for TV because it was live. Right, so you obviously had a live broadcast, and they didn't want you to have a winning shot, say on your fourth, because I was going second, right? So Ryan done his 3, I done my 3. Also, actually, back then it was 8. So he done his 4, I done my 4. He went up, done his 4 again, and obviously, hold on, no, sorry, I scrapped that. I got that wrong. He hit all 8 balls. He's obviously winning. His longest ball, I think, was 410 or something like that. Then it was my turn to hit 8 balls. I think I won it on my 6th ball. It's going to be 5 or 6 now. I forget. I think it was 6. And yeah, so basically what I mean is, if I won it on my first drive, they didn't want, for TV's sake, you to go and hit another 7 drives, right? Because they'd be like, "What do we do? It's live TV. The guy's just hitting balls he's already won."
Yeah.
So it kills that big moment. So that's how sort of confident even the organisers were like,
Yeah.
just don't hit any more balls.
That must be a nice feeling though to have someone say that.
It was a great bit. It's a nice story, especially to finish off with the win as well. So it's always one I can tell. If I hadn't have won, I'd probably never tell that story ever again. But it turned out I did win, so obviously her confidence in me was correct, and obviously ended up hitting a good shot for, what was it, 423 in the final, 424. Again, I can still picture that drive. I can almost picture every good drive I ever hit.
Do you ever get bored of, like, not bored, but do you ever take for granted when you're playing on your own just what you're, when you see yourself hitting the ball? Because we played with Brian, like Tristan said, and it for us, it's just, it doesn't ever get boring to see that. But for you going on your knock on, say on like a few holes on a weeknight, do you ever think, wow, yeah, like it is impressive, or you just like that's just my golf game?
Oh, never.
Really?
Never get. I've done. I don't know how many shows I've done over the years. I don't know how many times I've hit a drive. I've hit more. I do know I've hit more drivers than any golf on the planet ever.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're talking about Woods. I don't care if you're talking about Jack. I don't care who you're talking about. Then no one's hit as many drivers as I have, right? I've been doing long drive professionally since 2000. It's 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the recreational play and doing exhibitions and shows and clinics, but all the just the practice alone. No one's ever hit more drives than me, and it never gets boring of hitting one. absolutely flush out the screws. It really
out the
it doesn't,
screws,
and
yeah.
visually it doesn't. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
always
yeah,
impressive. It's just I don't know. It's just one of them things. I've always I love apart from visual, the visual aspect of it. I've always loved just the hard work and the grind and understanding of it. I've always loved training, and the training's always been part of the whole thing as well. So it was just a silly niche sport that was just made for me, and it was one of them things that just came good. But no, I mean to go back to your question, there is nothing better than watch a ball soar through the sky, and carrying 400 silly odd yards. Sometimes it really is, I think, beauty. You can talk about clutch putts all you want and backspin the green. It's spun back into the hole. Watch this drive.
Oh yeah, no, don't blame you, to be fair. Josh,
never gets boring.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this with someone like Joe on the pod. But Josh, I'm gonna have to stop you here, man, mate.
That's fine.
Mate, Josh, get me back on, man. We can carry this on all night. I like talking old good times.
We've got two of the sections to go to, but I do want to ask before we go into the quiz, just on a final note on the chat. When you're a golfer, there's good golfers. So if you turn up to, I don't care if you're turning up to the Tour Championship, your club championship, or whatever, everybody knows who the real best golfer in that room is, because golfers know golf. Is it on a long drive tour? And you deciding yourself whether you answer the question or not. But do you guys know who the longest of you lot are? Is there someone that you think, he's the one to beat? He's the one that everybody kind of thinks, I hope I don't draw him?
Yeah, there is, and purely only for the fact that you know who the fastest guy is nowadays. That's the real difference. I mean, saying that, even going back 2010, 2011, when I really started getting into it and obviously winning certain things. Club speed was never really a thing back then. We didn't, because you never had TrackMan or FlightScope until you watched a televised cars. Right? No one had it on the range. No one was working with these launch monitors, and no one knew anyone's speed. Right? Even when we were talking about that 2011 win against Cole, I had no idea that Cole Walker's covered speed was only around the 138 mark, 140 mark at the time, and I didn't know I was swinging it in the sort of 150s then. So you almost, back then everyone knew who Jamie Solowski was, and no one wanted to draw Jamie because he was obviously the sort of young prodigy coming up. He'd obviously won 2 world championships back to back, and he was the guy in lights. Nowadays, everyone knows everyone's club head speed, really. We all know that Carl, Martin, who else have we got up there now? Justin James, maybe not at peak speed yet, but Justin James can certainly swing it that fast. So there's guys that can swing it fast, and if they hit the ball, you're gonna have to have some serious luck to get past them, right? I'm not going to put myself in that absolute 0.01% of guys just yet, because I just haven't competed for 4 years and I haven't had that real adrenaline buzz yet. I mean, they know, everyone knows, but the weird thing with long drive is everyone still thinks they have a chance.
Yeah,
because it's such a in an unpopular term at the moment, it's such a male testosterone sport.
Yeah.
that you always think you can beat him. And so listen, like I say, miracles, maybe not miracles, but there is that odd chance that he doesn't quite hit it as well, or he hits 6 balls out of bounds and you just float one down there. There's still that sort of chance, but really, if you gave a guy 1,000 balls, you could, and the other guy's 1,000 balls, you're gonna pretty much find out who the longest is there, and you're probably gonna know before you start hitting them.
When you're posting on social media, this is interesting. Is it for the attention of the fans or for the attention of the other long drivers?
Certainly not for the attention of women, is it? Because I only say that because I know my Instagram following is like 99% male and like 1% women or female. Is it for the
99%? It's Josh.
I'm going to be looking for Josh's name every time I pop up, every time I post something now. I better be getting a like. But no, it's not for long drivers at all. I think it's more, is it for the fact, I don't know. Now, it depends on what you're doing with Instagram. For me personally, I just like to post up good swings, fast swings, and leave it at that. I don't really come back for comments. Sometimes I come back for comments and I have to reply to some of these idiots sometimes. They just talk apps. I mean, it's some of them, honestly, they're so stupid. I mean, that's away from the question. There is, I mean, anyone who goes on, and physically posts negative things, it's just like, guys, what? I mean, is that really your day today? Is to come on my page and say, oh, look at the swing. That video, I don't know if you've seen it. The video of me, somehow it's just kept going and going and going. I posted a video about 3 or 4 months ago, and I snapped a shaft around my neck.
Yeah.
Right? I was doing some drills, done the full swing, and the club's come around here and it's snapped. You post it up, you're going to get a lot of attention from it. Again, it's all, I know some of it's going to be negative, but it's attention, right? You're trying to grow your fan base, you're trying to grow Instagram. I've had a lot of work over the years from Instagram, don't get me wrong, right? So obviously, I know it's going to get all sorts of attention, and for some reason, it's just kept going. It's like a slow burner. It's just slow, and I've read some of them recently. You just think, mate, just what are you doing? Just don't, just stop. But it's not the old school way of getting on there and really just slagging you off. It's the sort of, they try and be nowadays. They try and be sort of smart and clever. They don't give you sort of names, and they don't say, oh, you're shit, or they say this or that. they try and be smart with their comments, and you just think, hey, you know what? If I saw you and you would say something like that in person, you just get smashed in the mouth, right? So. It's a funny old world, that Instagram. But to answer the question, I think it's just purely for just to get your name out there. Really nowadays, it's just we know what it is. We know we're trying to create content and trying to get your name out there and try and create a buzz around you. That's all it is.
Funny, right? Because you hate them. I'm the opposite. I absolutely, honestly, it's such a bonus for me if I go on Twitter or Instagram and on one of your videos, or maybe Rory McIlroy's videos, or someone it's like the top elite level, there's some amateur golfer who starts the sentence with "you should," you should. I'm like, that is great.
It is. It's I mean, it is. When you really sit back and look at it, I mean, Rory would have had a lot of it, over the last few years, right? Rory was pretty much down there. I can't even remember what world ranking he got down to. Then he's bounced back a lot and done what we want to see him do, and just be, right. He's just a good golfer, and obviously Tiger Woods before that, but he wasn't around the sort of social media part when he was at his high. But some of the people that get on there and try and analyze Rory's swing, but I mean, I don't know if that's your thing. I just can't see it. I mean, if I ever got on there and sort of slated Rory McIlroy for how he's putting, or how he's driving, or his attitude, or this and that, I just want Rory McIlroy to. I'd love for him to do sometimes is just forget all this publicity and the press and all that sort of stuff and just go and play golf. That's my sort of thing. But sometimes it's comical as well. But it's he would have got some stick over the years.
Oh yeah,
sure he knows how to handle it, right? He's like,
Josh, I know you want to comment on Rory, but you can't.
No, two of my favourite golfers, John Miller and Rory McIlroy. So I've got to leave one of them out.
Yeah, he's not a bad golfer. I give him that.
Yeah. Okay, quiz time.
Okay.
Oh dear.
All right, Joe. So Josh is a decent quiz player here. He doesn't know the question. He's not been briefed beforehand, but it's you v Josh.
Okay.
And it's quick fire. First to answer gets the point. It's out of 5. Okay. Now,
is this on long drive or is this on golf?
This one actually this week is a long drive / Ryder Cup one.
Okay. I'm probably going to get butchered on this at the moment. I haven't been paying too much attention, but go on.
Right. So.
Hold on. If you forgot to tell the stakes, there's a pint on this, Joe.
Yeah.
I got you. Just the one, yeah?
Yeah, I'll take PayPal. The money.
I
will send it your way before I've even answered the first question.
What we said we're going to build towards, though, Joe. Actually, Joe, I've unfollowed you and followed you on Instagram so that our account stands out as like when you used to flirt with someone in school and sort of make your account stand out.
I know.
But what we said is that we're going to build towards something where it's me and Zach v you and Josh in a match.
Okay. All right. I like the sound of that. Yeah.
That'll be a time where we can put a pint on it.
Yeah. Another pint. Yeah.
No, why not? That'd be good. Yeah. Listen, I've got to hook up with Zach at some point anyway, so we'll have to see if we can make it a four ball somewhere.
And no disrespect to anybody on this chat, but I'd take my chances with Zach Gould.
Yeah. Well, you not see me and Joe play yet?
Listen. Once they see that flipping driver get ripped on the first, they won't even. They walk straight in. They'll be like, I don't want none of that heat. I'm telling you.
I'll do the t-shirts, Joe. You stick to the play.
All right, question one.
Go on.
This one's quick fire because I've heard the answer today, right? So it's just off the mark, right? Who won the World Long Drive Championship in 2022?
Mine, Bob. Mine.
Yeah, 1-0, Joe.
I had Berkshire in my mind there. Yep,
No.
1-0.
Right, 1-0. This will be Jordan Spieth's what number Ryder Cup appearance?
4th.
No. So you're on.
3.
No. So you both go again.
5.
5.
Yeah,
He played
the next
5,
one's
is he?
5.
Well, this is going to be his 5th, yeah?
Yeah, something. He played 5.
And surprisingly, given his out of form, he was out of form, this is also going to be Ricky Fowler's 5th.
No.
Ricky Fowler, I can see. Spieth, I wouldn't have thought 5, but...
Yeah, that's an odd one. I'm surprised at Fowler as well, both of them, really.
Okay, 1-1. Question 3. What was and this nearest 2 now.
Okay.
What was the longest drive on tour this season?
437, something like that.
That's yours.
Nearest 2. Shall I go higher or lower? I think I'm going to go higher. 438.
Because he's gone higher, he's won.
Yeah, I thought it was that. I had a feeling it was in the 40s, 440.
But it's actually 459.
They go to Mexico, don't they, once a year or something? And
Well,
it's
yeah,
altitude or something.
This one must
was
have
it
been.
Mexico this year? Was that where it was?
But the person was Luke List.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think I'd seen. I didn't pay too much attention, but I did see the silly numbers, and I thought that's stuck in the head a little bit.
Yeah.
So 2-1 Joe then.
2-1 Joe. Question 4. Which course will host the 2025 Ryder Cup?
Whistling Strait.
No. So you're out.
Do you know what? I have no idea now. No, I wouldn't even hazard a guess at that at the moment.
Josh, you can guess if you want again.
I've got no idea. Pebble Beach. Is it now?
It's Bethpage Black in New York.
I didn't know that, but I've just heard of it.
Okay.
Did I know that? No.
Josh, you're playing for a draw. Joe, you're playing to beat him, all right?
Go on.
Who, considering this year's Ryder Cup is in Italy,
Yeah.
I'm going to help you both out here, right? Don't jump to your first answer, okay? Who was the first Italian to play in a Ryder Cup?
Edoardo Molinari.
No.
His brother.
No.
Oh, first Italian. Did you say Italian to win, yeah?
Yeah, to play in a Ryder Cup. So the initials are CR.
CR. Well, do we know him? Do we definitely know him?
There's not many Italian golfers. That's the problem. What is it?
No.
You want the answer?
What year? Give us the rough
I
year.
don't know the year, actually. I tried to find the year, but I couldn't find it quick enough.
Christoph Romero.
No. Constantino Rocca.
Rocca. I was just about to say that. Wasn't sure if he was...
I never would have got that.
Yeah, well done.
That's my second loss,
Joe.
then.
You beat him there.
Boys, I'll tell you what, I'm so unprepared for that, and I still won. It just goes to show talent shows through the day.
Green Rider to the top. Oh, that's my second loss now. I'm 2. What have I done? 2 draws, 2 losses, and then the rest wins.
Yeah. Who else? So you lost to Joe and lost to Eddie. Yeah. Out of the other co-host, the original co-host, is lost to. So right. Time for the.
Josh, don't worry about it, pal. Don't worry about it. I noticed you took a drink from the other side there, which is obviously where the vodka is. You've been reaching to the left, and now you reached to the right.
Do you know, I think his idea, Joe, was to mess with the partnership before or whenever we play that match. I think they're trying to get into our
Don't
heads.
worry, listen, don't worry. Me and you were still on. Me and you, but don't worry, we're tearing the pieces. Zach's no good anyway. He's just into training.
Yeah,
He doesn't know what's going on.
Okay, ready for the weekly discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought it would be a good week to hold this discussion. It's been going on for, I think, God knows, I think for as long as golf has gone on, it feels like this has gone on for eternity. It's so old now. But I want to talk about stripping the ball back, given that we've got someone who's the ball a mile, and Joe Miller on the podcast.
I was going to say, I'm also here. Yeah.
But I found the original quote, which was at the start of the conversation. So the quote goes like this: the USGA and RNA recently announced a proposal to create a model local rule where highly skilled golfers must use a different golf ball from 2026 onwards. This will introduce bifurcation, don't know what that means, into our sport, meaning that you, the average golfer, will play with different equipment than the professionals. So I don't know who wants to come in first on the rollback of the golf ball.
I mean, not him. And actually, I haven't heard about this for a while now. Obviously, this was a thing about a year ago or so, maybe less, when they first started talking about it. And coming from my point, I suppose I could come from the other point of view, but being me, no, I don't want to see it. I want to see the big drives. I don't think we see enough of it. I do know, as we said earlier in the podcast, we were talking, distance is the main dominant thing now. My only issue with it is this is purely now, if that's the way they're going to go about it, this is purely just to save golf courses, right? Because if me and you go out tomorrow and I hit 400 yards off the tee and you're hitting 300 yards off the tee and we roll back this golf ball, unless for some reason they make it where you still hit 300 yards and I have to hit I lose somehow, 50 yards, 100 yards, whatever it will be off it. So it's not designed for fast clubbing speed. It's more designed for slower clubbing speed. I just don't get it. I just can't see how, in any way, if two guys go out, one hits it 100 yards past him, if you both have to now roll back the golf ball, you're just rolling back in the same place anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's still going to be 300 yards, whereas you might now only be 200 yards off the tee. So I just don't get it. I understand it coming from their point of view that some of these golf courses now are just redundant. I mean, your background there is almost a redundant golf course, right? If the weather's good, that hole I'm looking at the 18th there, I almost drove that with a putter once.
Yeah.
Just because you can, because it's rock hard ground. But do they want to see that? Do they want to see McIlroy step up on the 18th and just hit it straight on the green like we saw? When who won it last? Cam Smith.
Talking about St Andrews, by the way, which is the
St Andrews. Yeah, sorry guys for those who aren't seeing it. His background, St Andrews, on the 18th over the bridge. It's I think Rory McIlroy, even when he was playing, I think he was in the group before, wasn't he? And he drove it straight on the green. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember. Do you want to see that as the opening, the last hole, or do you want to see him hitting a wedge or 7-iron or 5-iron onto that course, to finish the round? I don't know. It's obviously, it's more, I think, and this is a very quick observation. It must just be purely to save golf courses. I can't see how it's gonna do anything other than that. McIlroy's still going to be leading driving distance, or who's up there at the moment? Your Dustin Johnsons, your Rahms, some of the other, maybe not the top 10 boys, but who I can't even think who's longest on the tour at the moment. They're still going to be the longest on tour.
Yeah.
So is it purely just for the fact that they need to save some of these golf courses from these guys now? Is golf moved on that far? Is the driving averages moved on that far? I don't think it has. Driving technology hasn't changed for maybe 10, 15 years. I could pick up a driver from 2015 and still hit the same club head speed and ball speed. I understand it's more forgiving. I understand they are, the ball's a bit longer. but I can't. I don't know. This is a save the course. This is a save the game of golf more than it is, I think, anything else really.
I think that they should one. I would say fairly simple answer. It wasn't my answer actually. It came from someone that I followed on Twitter who's probably much wiser than me. But they had a brilliant response to it. So leave the golf ball alone, leave the golfers alone, but go back to a driver club head that isn't 460 degrees,
460 cc.
Because you can swing at that, as we all know, at full pelt, even at the worst of times. But you've got to be more careful with a driver that's 380, 400cc or whatever. And then that in itself will naturally lead to people trying to be safer off the tee if it's what people want to see. I don't personally know, because one thing I'd be aware of is we as amateurs want to play the same equipment as the top pros. So if all of a sudden you long drivers and the likes of Rory and Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm are using different clubs, then all I'm going to do is go on eBay and look for pro using Nike clubs, or not Nike anymore, but pro using Titleist club, because that's what I'll buy. And it'll just create a new market, which will waste time. In 5 years, we'll all have the same clubs again, because I like being sold the same clubs that the top pros are using.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joy, it's a good point. I mean, I did have another point on this, but on a separate issue. Pros have always used a different ball anyway, which a lot of people don't realise. Right? If you ever go into a Callaway Tour Truck, which I had the pleasure of going into for a few years, the ball they're using is the one that's coming out next year, or it's a slightly different version of the one that is sold, the chrome soft that is sold in the shops. Slightly harder, slightly more this, slightly more that. So the ball's always been slightly different anyway, right? As has the drivers. But you're right. The kids, especially the kids now, right? If the next big thing comes on, the next Rory McIlroy Woods comes on, and he's using XY driver, the kids want to use what he's using.
Yeah.
Right. Especially the kids, more so than me. More so than us. Right. I've got to a point now where I don't care. What the clubs are. I understand how to use them, and especially for golfing. But the kids coming up, the juniors coming up, they want you see it every day and you don't realise it. The juniors turn up fully dressed, hat, glove, trousers, belt, shoes. They all McIlroy was not McIlroy, sorry, Fowler was the thing for a while. All the kids turned up dressed in orange, had the flat cap. They want to impersonate the golfers, and now they're going to turn around and say, well, here's equipment you can't buy. I know it's a slightly detuned version, but I don't know, is that the right thing, especially for the juniors coming up? You're going to give juniors a bit of not an advantage in the golf, but you're going to give them a longer golf ball, and when they start getting serious at it, they're sort of 16, 17, 18, good amateur golfers that are playing off plus figures. Now you've got to switch their ball just to subsidize the golf courses, in my view.
Yeah, it's an odd one because, at what point do you even introduce it into the amateur game in terms of people who want to go pro? And then if you do, where do you introduce it? Because there's going to be, you could introduce it to, say, the US Open, but the US Amateur or the British Amateur, but then there's going to be some amateurs who have just scraped into that one. Do you know what I mean? Where there's going to be a difference in the ball. So I think it's an odd. I think it's like you said, I think it's to save courses more than anything. But then you think about the short hitters on the PGA Tour who are going driver, 3-wood, sometimes full wedge into par fives. What they're going to be doing then? Do you know what I mean? If Rory's going to be doing that, what are they going to be doing? They're just not.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, they can't. Obviously, the ball is going to have to be. It's not like you can do one ball for, I don't know, a short hit on tour and another ball for the longest guy on tour, right?
Exactly.
All you've done is just knock every single player in the tour back 20 yards. It's probably going to be roughly a 20-yard distance, I would have thought. Any less than that, and it'll be ridiculous. But I don't know. It's going to be a lot of money. I know how much some of these companies spend on R&D. I know Callaway 1 year, I think they were spending 50 million on R&D in terms of golf ball technology, and that's probably somewhere slightly behind Titleist, right? And TaylorMade. Obviously, TaylorMade's a big ball in the tour now, but I don't know. That's I think manufacturers are going to hate it. I think the tour players, I think, are going to hate it. And I think some of the courses that, like I say, are on the way out. I don't know. I just can't. I don't see how it's a big deal. You could do a lot more things. You could you could not cut the fairways like marble surfaces for a start. You might want to build up the rough around the thing. You could narrow the fairways down a little bit. You know, that's the one complaint you always get, don't you, when you hear when it's the US Open?
Yeah.
You know, the rough's ridiculous. The rough's ridiculous. As soon as they give it that course, all the players chirp up and go, "This is just ridiculous." How many times have you heard it over the years? And you see the ball, you know, drop on Instagram, and it disappears in about 6 foot of rough, and they're like, "How are we supposed to play on this?" That's the only thing that gets on the players. They don't care if McIlroy's driving the green or Woodsy's driving the green. They want to see that. They want to see that spectacle. It's good for TV. So I don't know. I think that's a bad decision. Whether that will last or not, I don't know. But it's an ongoing. It's an ongoing, and like you say, when do they introduce that ball? If the guy's got down to a good +4, +5, he's an amateur, and the next thing you know, he has to step on the US Amateur, and he's all of a sudden given the ball. He doesn't know how far to hit it, doesn't know how it spins, doesn't know how far you wedge or gaps anything. You know, his tournament's done, isn't it? It's done there and then. So strange.
They've more or less said that it won't go any further anyway, because of the deal that's been struck between the PGA Tour and the PIF. So in the sort of comeback letter from what's his name? His name is
Jay Monahan.
Jay Monahan had basically said to the players, and considering that the top players on tour are all hitting the ball far, he's basically said to them that we will vote against any movement to roll back the golf ball. I think trying to keep him on side, because he more than desperately needs to now, doesn't he? But yeah, it's been interesting, and I don't think it'll go anywhere, because I think there's too many factors involved. You know, it's not as simple as just let's roll back the golf ball.
Yeah, like I said, that is a big cost, massive cost, like you wouldn't believe. I'm sure, unless there's some easy quick fix that these club companies know. But to say to the guys, right, guys, there's a limit on the ball now, like they've done with the driver to a point.
Yeah.
In terms of face thickness, that point is quite easy, I would have thought. But for a golf ball to design it, now you've got to go back, you've got to work on the spin, you've got to work how it flies, and you've got to learn the golf ball as well. That's the thing. You can stand there and bang it, right? There's no problem. With a ball, you got to learn every single club in the bag. You've got to learn how it reacts off the face. You've got to learn. That's a lot. It's a big one. And the elephant in the room as well is Live Golf going to do the same, or is Live Golf just going to go, nah, boys, listen, we just want to see you smash it, Miles, and enjoy the game, right? Which is what they've been doing.
Yeah, that's a good
now
point.
The PJ's rolling it back. It's always a negative, isn't it? It's always we'll roll it back. Right, there's a limit on that. Right, you can't do that. You can't do this. I don't know. It's not a very. I wouldn't say that's a positive in any shape or form, personally.
No,
I think we probably agree on that.
Yeah, for one show, all the guests are.
Sorry, again off the top, you can edit this one if you want. Off the top of my head, when you talk about rolling back the size of the head of the driver, I've always said that the driver for long drive should be slightly smaller anyway, because it makes it more aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Right. If you ever pick up it's quite a close comparison. If you ever pick up a speed stick, the reason speed sticks, what they use to train sometimes, which are not for me personally, but if you ever pick up one of them, the reason they are so fast is because it's a small weight that's a lot more aerodynamic than a big 4cc head. Yeah. Right, so you make all of a sudden that 460cc head smaller, and let's say you go back to like the 370s edition and the 360, you'll be able to swing that tire even faster. Yeah. So it would, you couldn't even do that. It would sort of, I get it. It's a lot more unforgiving, but it's you couldn't even do that really. I don't think. But who knows? I'm a long driver. What do I know?
I've just bought a speed stick, Joe. So I've put it in the bin after that.
They have a small place. I'll be honest with you. They have a small place
in the bin
in normal golf. In long drive, they have no place.
Yeah.
And to anyone, again, this is part of what I talked about with Zach. For anyone who is slightly trained, in terms of if you've ever stepped foot in a gym, they hold no place whatsoever. So if you are working out, right, if you're sort of getting strong, which you look like a fit guy, young fit guy, apart from I know your beer drinking you're talking about. If you slightly trained, if you've lifted a few weights and you're stronger than you was, let's say a couple of months ago, or a year ago, or 3 years ago, they don't offer much. But that's a topic for another day, maybe.
Right, so it's on the squat rack then. That's what I'm going.
Exactly. That's where the gains are made. That's where the gains are made. Zach's going to kill me for not getting enough of the programming, but yeah, strength is the real key. Anyone who wants to hit the ball further is to get stronger.
Yeah. Well,
that's what our program is going to be. But no, enjoy the speed sticks. Speed sticks great. Yeah, you'll do great with them.
Yeah.
Just do me a favour, leave the speed stick stuff till after our four ball, yeah, and after we've taken these boys' money, all right?
I will do.
I think that's as good a time as any to end it there, so we can give you your time back, Joe, as well.
Pleasure, boys. Anytime. It was enjoyed it. It was good conversation.
If you could just finish with a sort of recap for anyone listening of how to find you and what's coming up over the next few weeks as well.
Okay, so Joe Miller LDC is the best place to find me on Instagram. I am on Twitter and Facebook as well, but Instagram is 99% of my social media really. And coming up over the next, it's going to be almost 3 weeks. I think it's just under 3 weeks today. On the 16th of September, it's the European Championship, which would be my first event for 4 years. So look forward to that one. Could be an interesting outcome. Could be a disappointing one, or it could be a good one.
How can we watch that then?
That's a good question. I think it's going to be an edited TV show. I think I'm not 100% sure. I do know it's under floodlights, so I'm gathering there's obviously going to be a bit of work going into that. They're not at the stage of doing live broadcasts, that's for sure. So worst case, it will be probably streamed on YouTube. And the results will be posted up live. We know that, but maybe log on to mine on Saturday night, and you might find out who won. If it's me, you'll find out. If it wasn't me, don't look at my page. But 16th of September is what we're building up for, so it should be good.
I'll be looking forward to that, seeing you and Brian and everyone sort of battle out for that. And then your program with Zach, is it through
Dr. Golf?
Is it through Dr. Golf half PM?
Yeah, Zach's app. I suppose the best way for everyone is to go on either my page, Instagram, or Zach's page, which is Dr. Golf, and click the link in the bio. If you've got Zach's app already, it's obviously going to be on there, and you're going to be getting emails soon. But go check it out. If increasing distance is your thing, this might be. I'd say it's not a fresh take. It is just, this is how I've done it over the years. So I can tell you it works. I'm not going to tell you what you're doing at the moment doesn't work, but I can definitely tell you that this does work. And it's kind of a very, not simple approach, because there's a lot of years that go behind it, but it's a very clean cut approach. There's no mucking about. There's no content for content's sake. It's this works. This is what you got to do. Can you do it? Let's see.
I've got to ask you on the now, but is your aim to get to the Worlds next year?
Actually, I've been asked to go this year. They've almost to a point. I'm not going to say they begged at all, but they gave me an invite to this event just gone in Tennessee. They said, look, come over, and let's step back in, because the organisers are working with my agent, George Gross. He might be even someone who wants to speak to in terms of agency. That's another side of it. He was a tour agent for a long time. So World Long Drive are, say, in bed's probably the wrong word, but they're in bed with George and his business partner in the States, and they're sort of building the website and doing other things and doing the scoring, and they've got a package going on. I don't know exactly what it is, but they keep speaking to George, Mike Ambritz, who was the sort of right-hand man for years in terms of long drive. Where's Joe? When's he coming back? Here's an invite. They've invited me to the next event in, I the next event? It's in LA, I think it is, somewhere in California. They've invited me to that, but I'm just not in the position at the moment. I've got other things going on. It's just that it's unfortunate. I've been waiting 4 years to get back at it, and every time it seems to come round, I seem to have just other stuff going on, and life's going on. Unfortunately, for me, not unfortunately, it's not the right word, but life is going on at the moment. That's just the way it is. But yeah, they want me back. I want to get back. To be honest, if it was tomorrow, I'd feel quietly confident of making the top 8 and probably going a few steps further, right? But is what it is at the moment. We'll see next year. There's always next year is the British stiff upper lip, but I'm running out of years. I want to get back to it soon.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, we'll be back. That's what I'm going to do. This smaller event. It's local-ish. I mean, Germany, obviously compared to the States, but it's more local. I can hop over in one day, do the event, fly back the following. We'll see what happens. It'll probably give me a little bit of a warm up. You know, I'm confident, but like I say, I'm not silly as well. I've been out for 4 years, right? So I'm sure there's going to be that little bit of rust to knock off first, and we'll see what happens.
Nice one. Yeah. Joe, I hope you don't mind me pestering you this time next week then when I'm...
Nah, do it.
Nice one. Thank you so much for your
time. Send anything across, boys.
Thanks very much, Joe. Really appreciate that.
No worries.
Thank you.
See you
Take
soon.
care.
Speak soon.
Bye-bye.
Definitely. Thank you.